Tynan Portillo presents. Featuring the works of Edgar Allan Poe and the best horror stories from the 19th century. Welcome to the Poe Show podcast. Music and narration by Tynan Portillo. Today's episode, a sneak peek from Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed by Eric Miller. Tommy inches through the rows of corn in a new section of the field. A fly buzzes around his head. He ignores it. Sweat rolls down his neck. He glances back and sees Max and Walter prowling close behind, their eyes constantly on the move, searching for danger everywhere. It is dirty, slow work, but it beats rushing ahead into unknown dangers. Or so he's told. If he had his druthers, whatever those are, Tommy would much rather take the offensive anytime he can. But since Max is the boss, he continues creeping. A tiny cracking sound comes from behind them. Tommy whips around, pointing the muzzle of his shotgun toward the sound. Max ducks under the swinging barrel and rolls to the dusty ground. The barrel of his AK-47 covers the patch of corn to the right of Tommy's shotgun. Walter spins and covers the left field of fire with his Uzi. Amateurs or not, they are very good at what they do. A Navy SEAL would have trouble finding flaws in their form. Max whispers to the giant towering over him without taking his eyes off the corn. "See anything?" "No, but watch behind us. It's an old trick from the Nam. Get you looking one way and attack from the other." Max follows his advice. He twists around and sticks his gun between Tommy's legs, aiming behind him. He sees nothing but more rows of corn. They hold position, listening, waiting. After a tense moment, Tommy exhales. False alarm. It must have run off. "No way," Max grunts, unconvinced. "I can still feel it out there." Tommy starts to argue, but Max puts his finger to his lips. Tommy and Walter glance back to the corn. They have learned through painful experience to trust their leader's gut feelings. A flash of movement to the side catches Max's attention. He whips his head around and sees a hulking shape tearing through the rows. The shape is indistinct at first, hidden by the stalks and blurred by speed, but the way it moves, and the fact that it is not one of the team, screams danger. It takes another step and then launches itself at the back of Tommy's head like an organic missile. There is no time to shout a warning or aim, so Max slams his machine gun into the back of Tommy's knee, and the huge man's leg buckles. "Hey!" he grunts, then crashes to the ground and woofs out a lungful of air. The men catch a glimpse of a demonic creature with rippling muscles and flashing teeth vaulting over them. Jagged claws hiss through the air where Tommy's head was an instant before, and the bundle of death hits the ground and scrambles away through the corn in a flurry of churning legs. Max swings his AK around and lets off a long burst of gunfire, but he is too slow. The bullets rip through the air half an inch behind the shape. It crashes into the rows of corn and scuttles away with a chilling growl. Tommy rolls to his feet and gives chase. "Tommy, no!" Max yells, but Tommy is past following orders, past reasonable thought. He has the enemy in his sights, a way to put the anguish of a month of tension and years of torture to rest. He is death, and he must kill, and nothing can be said or done to tear his simple-minded focus away from his quarry. He chases after the tornado of teeth and claws and leaves the others behind. Corn stalks slash at Tommy as he runs, cutting red lines on his hands and face. He ignores the pain, hot on the trail of the creature. It zigs and zags in front of him, dodging the continuous hail of buckshot roaring from the flaming barrel of the shotgun. The sound is much the same as the one he made in the kitchen when he was pretending to shoot, except now it is 100 times louder. Ba-da, 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 ba-da. "Stand still, you fucker," he screams. The demon screeches something unintelligible in return as it cuts sharply to the left ahead into a thicker patch of corn. It leaves a ragged trail Tommy follows until he breaks into the clear and sees a shape standing in front of him, and he grins savagely as he raises the shotgun and pulls the trigger and shoots Max in the chest. The impact spins Max around and tosses him backward. He lands face down on the ground. As he gasps for air, a dim part of his brain analyzes the pain and finds it intense and yet dull at the same time, like getting beamed with a fastball when you lean a little too far into the batter's box during a baseball game. Except this heater is made of multiple double-aught buckshot pellets scorching along at over 800 miles an hour. "No! It's us!" Walter screams, and he dives for cover beside Max. Tommy jerks the shotgun barrel up and gapes at his fallen friend. "It was right in front of me." He whips his head around, searching for the shape, but it is gone. He starts crying. I didn't see him, I swear. I thought he was the monster." Walter ignores him and rolls Max onto his back. He gasps when he sees the holes ripped through the outer fabric of the bulletproof vest. Walter feels around, searching for signs of blood, but finds none. He's not bleeding. I think the vest stopped it. Max convulses, struggling for breath. His eyes flutter. He drags a gulp of air into his tortured lungs, shakes his head to clear it, and holds out his hand. Walter pulls him to a sitting position. Max grimaces in pain. He looks down at the ragged pattern on his vest and smiles weakly at Tommy. "Nice shooting, Tex," he croaks. Tommy drops to his knees. Tears stream down the big man's face. "I'm sorry, Max. I'm so sorry." "So am I," Max grunts. "I'm just glad I didn't buy you the bazooka." Walter helps Max to his feet. He wobbles, unsteady, and moves his arm around to loosen up. He takes a deeper breath, but the pain makes him grimace. "Might have cracked a few ribs." "Can you continue?" Walter asks. "No choice," Max shrugs. "But it's okay. It only hurts when I breathe." If you're an author who'd like to feature your own work on The Poe Show, you can contact me at poeshowpod@gmail.com with details. And of course, buy a copy of Eric's book to enjoy for yourself, available on Amazon. I'll link it in the episode's description. This action scene of whatever happened to Uncle Ed that you've just heard comes from the beginning of the book, and I think it's a great demonstration of Eric's writing. He can so quickly hook you with an intense event and write characters who are so easy to empathize with. And the rest of the book just adds and adds to it. Now, let's get into our interview with Eric Miller. Welcome back to The Poe Show. I'm your host, Tynan Portillo. I'm here with our guest author, Eric Miller, who has written a number of anthologies like Hell Comes to Hollywood and 18 Wheels of Science Fiction. He's written a number of Hollywood movies such as Ice Spiders and The Mask Maker, and he's written the novel that you just heard an excerpt from, Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. He's a Bram Stoker Award-nominated horror anthology editor, and today he's our guest. Welcome, Eric, and thanks so much for coming on to The Poe Show.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. As you can obviously see, I'm a Poe fan, and I even have my Raven mug for tea. So
amazing. I love it.
Yeah, perfect place. Although I admit it's been a while since I've read everything, but I grew up reading one of the great masters, and he had a lot of influence on me.
Could you talk about, well, actually, first, before we get into that, I'll ask, can you tell people where they can contact you and get to know you and, any more of what you're doing right now?
Yeah, all the good stuff. I'm revamping my website, but by the time anyone hears this or goes to it, it should be done. But website, Eric Miller Writes, Eric with a C. Also, my book company, also being redone, which I publish the anthologies through, is bigtimebooks.com. I do the socials not as rapidly as many people, so I believe I'm at Raging Eric again with Eric with a C on Facebook and on the old Instagram. I don't do a lot other than that, but it's a good place to just find me, and all the links to everything are on there. Or you can always just search things on Amazon or IMDb, and my name pops up connected to all the various works.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So you did talk about Poe being an influence, and Poe, I feel like he's a big writer that a lot of schools introduce students to. So is that where you first heard of Poe and where he had a major influence on you?
Yes, yes. Like many things, we all like to curse our high school or junior high English teachers when we're younger, probably because of all the red marks on our papers when we thought they were perfect. But part of that was reading, and they make us read things that later on in life, you're like, wow, that was amazing. So, The Lottery, I think, has been forced to be read and forced, but and lovingly forced. I've never figured out if that's the teachers getting their chance to make an impression on young minds, but also I don't know what the curriculum is, never did that, but got to read find some great authors because we had to read them, and remember, reading Nathaniel Hawthorne and definitely Poe, usually Mask of Red Death, or still probably my favorite Poe story for various reasons, The Black Cat. But yes, that's where I first encountered it, and then of course, at the age where I was reading voraciously and starting to read and expand more, just went, ooh, this guy's cool. Let's find out more. And
Yeah.
of course, all of the great, I don't know if they were actually Hammer films or not, but Hammer the brand, but all of the great adaptations, the great old films, Pit and the Pendulum, et cetera, and all of that led me to him.
Amazing. Yeah, I love I'm getting more into the older movies with Vincent Price was in a couple, and
Yes.
I'm starting to watch The Mask of the Red Death with Vincent Price. It is such a good feeling movie. It gets me so into that vibe.
Yeah, and just he's one of my heroes. If I actually have the poster on the wall, and the one of the autobiographies is on the right the nightstand, and the biography by his daughter, which I've read years ago, and I'm rereading as soon as I finish the biography or the whatever it is, whatever you call these things. Everyone should check that out too, because it's phenomenal, and it's the person, and just a great fan, and somebody. I've said this in other places. A lot of people haven't seen the movie, or if you do, you're like, what the hell is this? But The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which in
Oh
many
yeah.
ways is very Poe, very gothic, very goth romance and everything. I wouldn't have been surprised if whoever wrote that originally went, yes, I read a secret Poe story and wrote Dr. Phibes from it. It's in that vein. If you've seen it, or if you know what I'm talking about.
I've heard of it. I've never personally done any investigating, but now my ears have perked up. So
Yes. Yeah, unique film. And it's also bizarre. It's very 60s, 70s, very hip, but gothic at the same time. It's like a mishmash of time periods and genres and things.
Ooh.
But at the heart of it, it's just this wonderful gothic romance revenge story.
I love that. So, on that note, you have been a writer and editor in films, but also short stories and novels. So, what other mediums of creativity have you ventured into, or do you want to venture into, like comic books or video games?
Yeah, I wish that I had been able to do some comic books. I've got plenty of friends who do it. I grew up a comic kid and I always loved it. And that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to do, but I just never really had the entree to it. So I guess I could have pushed it more, followed up on it more, but I never did. But I love graphic novels. The format is amazing. That's how you discover Neil Gaiman and so many other great people, and just the wonderful superhero comics. Everybody in the world now knows the Infinity War and all that, but I've still got the original graphic novels and stuff. But also in that too, not really as much graphic novelty, but the great prestige magazines when I was growing up, like Epic Illustrated and Heavy Metal at its prime, were just that's very graphic novelty, and just kind of taking it in a more adult version of comic books. And I lit up on that, and still to this day, another person that's very much influenced me on many levels, more as a fan than in my writing, but also just being able to open my brain to different worlds, is Jim Starlin. There's so much in the Marvel world, but also the Avengers world, and Adam Warlock talk. And then the stuff that he's done beyond that, again, it's kind of criminal in a way that not a lot of people know who Jim Starlin is, but I think plenty do. But it's just not like a common mainstream name. So yeah, I love that graphic novels. Big gamer, don't play as so many games anymore. Just don't have time in life to do it. But I'd always wanted to do, something like Dead Space. Love it. Right up my alley. Love that. And also, the original Resident Evil. Those games are just amazing, and there's so many more. The thing I always liked about games is not this is not unique to me, but you're the hero of the story. I mean, you can read a book and you put yourself into the character. You can watch a movie and imagine that you're Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever. But when you're playing a game, especially first person, it's you. You're there, and you never see the face of your character. And a lot of times, of course, you buy outfits and things and bling yourself out and literally make it you. And especially in role playing. So yeah, even in single player, you're the hero of a movie or a story for however many hours it takes you to finish it, and that's kind of phenomenal. And I think that's why games resonate so strongly, because it just what books and movies and comics do, striking up your imagination, the video game puts you right in it. So, but just again, didn't have the opportunity, was focusing so much on Hollywood and books and short stories that the opportunity just never really fell on my lap. But I'd still love to try that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was able to watch Ice Spiders on Amazon Prime, and I really loved because I heard you do another interview. I can't remember where it was, but they asked you what inspired the movie, and you said that you had been given the script, and they said we want a scene where spiders are crawling along the ski lift line, and then like one other detail, and said go with it. And I
Yeah,
thought that's such a great idea, but how did you fill in all the blanks for all of that?
well, that there wasn't a script at all. They
Oh,
and as the way I understood it, they may, if they're still making movies, I honestly don't know. But the way they were doing it is they would come up, you send in log lines and if or titles first, and if it's a great catchy title, obviously they're the masters of great titles. And then you do a log line from that. They like the log line. It keeps going to successive steps, and then you develop the treatment, you develop the story. In this case, a producer friend of mine who had been a champion of a werewolf script, actually wanting to buy a werewolf script that I'd written back in the day, and it was actually under option, I believe, thanks to him, to someone else. And so he just loved my writing, and I'd worked with him on sets many, many times. And he came and said, "Hey, I want you to write this." And at first, I was a little hesitant, even though I love giant monster movies, and honestly, I don't remember why I was hesitant. But he just said, "This is what we have. They want the channel wants the image of the spider coming down the lift line, and they want two hunters being hunting in the opening and getting hunted themselves. Other than that, come up with it." So it was completely me. I knew the budget levels, and I kind of know what you can do. So I will admit that my first draft, he probably wanted to murder me, because I think I turned in a 20 million at the time, a 20 $100 million movie, complete with my one scene that I loved that just had to go. Would probably be easy these days with CG, but the hero on the back of one of the spiders riding it like a cowboy with a web noose
oh,
around its neck,
that
yeehaw!
would
And
have been
so
awesome.
it also didn't quite fit the characters and stuff, but yeah, things like that had to go. So we tooled it back, and that's kind of what you do. You caution people and yourself, don't ever write to a budget. But at the same time, since I work production and I'm on that side and I know what things cost and I know what they're going to be capable of doing, I want to be a little bit more economical. And to this day, I can kind of write a script. You tell me what the budget level is, I can tune something towards it if you need it to. I am a fan of saying, though, any script can be made for any amount of money. It's just the difference is the how many actors, and whether you're setting in one room or hordes of extras and stuff. So but you can change, not necessarily shoot the same script, but you can change the story. It might wind up with one guy being locked in a closet talking about the zombie invasion and into his camcorder, or you can go shoot The Walking Dead for a lot more money. But it's still essentially the same story, just done in a different way. So anyway, I fine tuned it, and successive drafts with notes from the Sci-Fi Channel and from Jeff and others, and eventually notes from every actor always gets their say. And I was lucky enough to be flown out to Utah to the ski resort. It was after the season, which is when they could afford it, and the snow is melting every day, so you have to shoot a little further up the mountain every day. But you come back to the lodge at night and talk to everybody, change their dialogue a little bit, and also make it fit for the location and what the director needs too, to help to make it practical to shoot. So scripts are very complicated that way, even in the development section. But when you get shooting, pay pages come out every single day, sometimes oftentimes a day. It's usually dialogue changes, but you just run into things that I imagine things, but that's not just practically doable or physically doable. So you kind of making that work with everyone around.
Gotcha. Wow, that is a lot. So then, like many other Hollywood writers, like Michael Jamin, have expressed the difficulty in getting your ideas as the writer accepted in a completed movie. Guillermo del Toro has said before that Hollywood is a lot like a fast food window, like they ask for two cheeseburgers and a movie with witches. So, Ice Spiders is obviously a rare gem where you got to just do what you wanted. But on other films, how do you decide which ideas to keep in a script and not budge on versus what to sacrifice? Or even in novels, because I'm sure you have an editor and that can sometimes be hell, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to do both. Not a lot of people do both. You can obviously tell more stories and go deeper into certain characters and side characters in a novel because you've got more room to do it. In screenplays, you're stuck, especially if you're doing a spec script or if somebody you're lucky enough to have somebody hire you based on an idea or your idea. You or an adaptation of a book. You've got 100 to 120 pages. And these days it's even shorter. They like it. It's getting to the point where if you're over 100 pages, they start looking crooked. So I've had to adapt my style over the years. I used to write a lot more heavy prose, and I got a lot. Initially, I got praise for that because somebody, I think a big producer at one point said, your scripts read like a book. They read like they're meant to be read. And other styles, I've read thousands of screenplays, and some of them are so staccato and short sentences that it like kind of turns me off. But you realize that it's a blueprint and you want to create the world. You've got to create the setting, describe the characters, but you can't do too much. So I've adapted my style. First off, I've got a lot shorter, snippier style than I used to have in it. And I limit myself in a paragraph, a screenplay paragraph, as it were. I refuse to go more than about 3 lines and hopefully 2 if I can. You because that enables me to squeeze more story in and more elements. But you, at a certain point, you just have to look at it, and it really helps you as a storyteller because you want to tell all these side stories, and you really have to focus because of that page count and the limitation of the running time and the budgets and whatever. Character wise, especially on lower budget, you have to eliminate or combine characters, and you realize sometimes that, oh, these two characters are the same character. They're just different people saying the same line. So you can eliminate a person. It really helps you as a writer streamline your style. So I'm really glad that as I finally got to my novel, it became not just more cinematic because of all of my screenplay experience and production experience, but it became much more economical in the writing. And yes, I have sections where I go on for probably far longer than I should describing something or just having fun writing. And that's, hey, it's my book. Screw you. I'm going
Yeah,
to do what I
yeah.
want to do. But it does teach you to get back to the point. It's almost like smacking yourself on the side of the head and to get back to the story. Focus on this. So I hope that's answering your question.
Absolutely, because I mean, I'm an actor and voice actor, and I know that it's always a collaborative experience whenever you work on anything. But someone hired you because they want you, they want your taste and your style, and you're there to give your perspective and then mold it according to whatever everyone else is trying to do. Just like you said, even actors on the day will have their 2 cents to chip in, and so
Yeah, and changing it. And the other thing is that screenplays are so collaborative. It I jokingly say 400 people, but it might actually wind up being 400 people are saying how to rewrite your script. There was a joke going around at one point. I don't know who said it, but everyone had a say on the writing of the script except the writer. And you get bombarded with notes. And the something that a lot of new writers don't understand and realize, and I try to pass that on when I'm mentoring people every now and then, is one of the arts that took me probably too long to learn is taking notes gracefully, not fighting them. You're going to get a bunch of dumb notes. We always do, but your script isn't perfect. Your book isn't perfect. Your story isn't perfect. Take them with grace, look at them. And also, especially in Hollywood, you've got to be able to take the note and change it and do as much as you can within the realm, still somehow preserving the gem of what you have in there and make those people happy because they're paying the bill. And if it's the
Right.
excuse me, the case of the producer, they're paying for it. If it's the director, he needs it creatively and wants it this way. And in the best terms, you collaborate with them, you talk and you work your way through it, and your voice does manage to stay in there somehow. Sometimes you just get obliterated and they fire you and hire 16 other people. And that's why you see 42 writers on a thing, or things that go into development hell forever. They just keep trying and trying and trying and trying over, and they can't crack the story. That happens. But again, taking notes with grace and learning how to integrate them. And it's also okay to say, hey, I tried. I couldn't get these in, but I got these 16 changes in. And in the beginning, you're like, oh crap, I've got to do every single one of these, or they're going to fire me. And the reality is, they might still fire you anyway. But at least you try, and you just be honest about it. And they do want you there for your creativity. They wouldn't have bought the script in the first place if they didn't like the story or what it's adapted from.
Um, AI is becoming a bigger thing, and me personally, I hate it. I think it's stupid. I think that corporations are gonna, of course, use it to try and cut corners and cut people's jobs out of there. And I think that it just doesn't match up to what humans write, because it doesn't matter to AI. Are there any parts of your career where people have tried to automate your process for you and said, just do it this way or just use this? Don't include your own style, your own notes in anything that you do.
Yeah. So not technologically, because AI is so relatively new to that. You one of the hardest things I did was doing a rewrite, actually relatively recently, where I had to match kind of the tone and writing style of the other writer. My name was going to be on it if it happened, but it's still, you don't want varying styles coming up, and that happens when you're writing with a partner too. And people have various ways of writing with partners, but especially in specs, when you're sending them out, you want it to have a consistent read. You don't want it to be have a jarring different types of tones. So that was actually hard. But the automation, it's like you said, it's happening more and more. I hope, and I hope this with all my heart, that AI is going to become a tool
Mm.
that we can use to assist us and make it better. It's here, whether we like it or not. But the reality is, what they're trying to do is, like you said, put people out of work. The drive is just to do everything as cheaply as possible. And unfortunately, people cost money. So, sometimes it's just a pure drive for the bottom line. Other times they're just trying to do it quicker. And I hope if it could assist doing quicker. So far, I don't use AI at all. I have friends who do for various things. And if I do use it, I always said I wish, and this may exist, I don't know, but if I could have my own private AI that would be isolated from the internet, from anyone else, it's my login, mine, and I feed it all my examples, and it could write like me, and I could say, okay, crap out a chapter in my style of this story, and it could do the heavy lifting of writing it. But the reality is, books, obviously, books and stories, they're bespoke, they're handcrafted, they're brain crafted. Same thing with when you draw a picture or do a sculpture, it's in the head of an artist. And the artist, the magic of that, whether it's a book or a sculpture or a painting, we somehow pull it out and put it in a medium that other people can enjoy. And even making films, it's a production factory, but there are automated things in it, of course, and post with the digital editing and CGI, and there are other elements, final draft, which helps us write in the screenwriting process. None of those are AI. I'm sure they're increasingly becoming AI, but they definitely help us. They're tools like any technology should be,
Right.
but they can't create. And again, there's people on a film set. I mean, even in animation, there's people drawing cells, there's people doing the music, people doing the audio and writing the story. So the insane drive to save money by eliminating people, frankly, it pisses me off. In anything, lawyers, coders, well, maybe not lawyers, coders, whoever are going to be eliminated. And it just brings this far-reaching. Many people are talking about it, greater and smarter than me, but this far-reaching thing for society. And at the end of the day, if everything is automated and nobody has a job, who's going to buy your shit? Wake up,
Exactly.
CEOs. Stop
Yes.
thinking 3 months ahead, and we can fire everybody. Well, great, they're all unemployed, so now there's nobody to watch your movie, buy your book, buy your car, do whatever whatever it is. And it's just incredibly short-sighted. And it just takes the humanity out of it, like you said. And especially when stories, we want to connect. The stories, books, art helps us connect to other people and things that are sometimes greater than us, and you lose that when it's soulless. So I don't like it either. But I do hope that it becomes a tool that accentuates, it's a technological change. Like they say, the buggy whip manufacturers went out of business and all of the horse people went out of business, but something far greater supplanted it. And, there's far more people have jobs making cars, and for good or ill, than ever had in horses. So I hope that there's a technological thing that still maintains the human element and the human spirit. But it's breaking my heart because I've got friends, artists, video makers, other people that are literally stunned that they're out of work and they've been replaced, and because it's cheap. Wow, that's a great answer. That's what the whole world is about, is being cheap.
Yeah. 100% agree with everything that you've said. And I hope the exact same thing. Being an actor, I know that they're making videos now and, having this podcast and everything. I know that it's like, oh, well, great. There's going to be a bunch of AI slop content now. So, yeah, I completely agree. And I think that we need more regulations to just help that go through. But when it comes to adding the human touch to anything that you're writing, of course, you did write for Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. You wrote that you wanted to make this story more about love than about hate because of a good friend and co-writer of yours, Patrick Chiffrar. If I may ask, how did he influence your writing in your life?
Well, Patrick and I were friends. He's one of the first people I met in Hollywood. We became roommates, and eventually he was a story editor at IRS Media in the development department. So we just stayed friends. We started writing together, writing screenplays. We both kind of learned. We were both doing development in Hollywood at different areas. He never wrote a lot of prose, just a little bit. I was mainly the prose guy, but we both jumped in. We were teaching each other, and we had a lot of, believe me, a lot of knockdown, drag out fights. Actually helped evolve the partner writing system that I have now, because our writing styles just were slightly different, but pretty close. But of that, like I've learned now, when I write with a partner, generally we develop the story together, the beats together. And I say, whoever has the story idea wins any argument. You just have to, you're 50-50, you have to pick something. And I now, when somebody does the first draft and then you trade drafts back and forth, and the goal is not to keep changing the other person's style of writing, it's to change the story and dialogue and those elements, keeping each other in. So that's a roundabout way at one, that's the process. But so Patrick and I doing that for years, and some of those fights became better and better friends. And we both learned how to write better through it. And both of us were, again, experienced in Hollywood. So we'd go to meetings and pitches, and, I was a little bit better at pitching one day and he's a little better the other day. So it was a real true collaboration, which was great. And writing is usually a solitary experience. So it was great to have a partner. And I've had other writing partners before. I think they all hate me. Maybe you're not, but no, it made some great things that I couldn't have done on my own. So I give all credit to them. Hopefully they learned from me, I learned from them. But in that instance, Pat and I had been roommates forever and then stayed friends. And we were both into, as you see in the novel, basketball is key to Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. And more, it's not an entire basketball game as horror. The whole thing doesn't take place there, but key elements do, and the character does. And earlier drafts of it, at a younger point of your life, you watch more violent things and bad things are happening to you. And so the younger me was like a little bit more hard-edged stories. And I still do. I mean, I love Saw and things like that still. But you get older and things happen to you in life, and you lose friends, you gain friends, you have breakups and all these things. And kind of life started influencing you. And at a key point, he was reading a draft, and he said that exact quote, which you just said, which I said in the forward. He finished it and he said, "I love it. The story's great, but why don't you make it a little more about love and a little less about hate?" And what that sparked in me was, I'll call it, I don't want to spoil anything for people who might read it, but the girl, as it were, the woman, was a character, was always in there, and was more of a partner to the hero. But because he said that, I realized that there was a love story blossoming right in front of me on my own page that I wasn't really seeing, because I don't want to write a romance novel. This is about monsters and demons and basketball and all this. But that element became, that love story in there became, I think, the driving force behind this version, the final version of it, and made everything I was writing so much more powerful, because some of the lines that are said in there is, the character's, willing to just put himself on the line and lose his life for this cause. And there's, I think, I'm forgetting exactly my own words, but as they're involved in this relationship, she says, "Yeah, that's great, but that was before you had something to lose," meaning her. And the hero has to realize just he's ashamed that he's been putting himself ahead of all this selflessly, but putting himself ahead of things. And now he's got someone else to think about. Like we all learn when you get into a relationship, it's not about you anymore. It's about the other person. And so I'm very glad he said that. Lost him stroke years ago and passed on at way too early of an age and still hurts every day, but which is another lesson to live, love, write, create, do things, see your friends, call somebody, tell them you love them because they might not be here tomorrow. And very true in my case, and I think many other people case. And we hear that, but we don't see it. And I just hope somewhere that he's reading this final draft and says, "Hey, you did it pretty good, and you were still wrong about that chapter and that other thing that we did."
My condolences.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a friend close to me who had a relative who just passed away, and reading a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, it puts death into perspective a lot. And every day, I go through, I cuddle with my dog or I kiss my wife, and there's a little voice in my head that says, "This isn't forever. You don't get to always do this." And it's that morbid and kind of reverent fear that you get, like, oh, this could possibly go away. So, um, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that about Patrick.
Yeah, and that's also beautiful that you thought that too. And again, even the best horror stories are about that at its heart. The best movies, you have to love something or want when you sacrifice something. And Poe, I mean, what his life through circumstance, his own fault, and other things, he lived a gothic nightmare. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
between the alcoholism and the gambling and the marriage and her dying and the parents dying early, it was like how did he even get to where he was and dying so early? It's like it's a miracle that through all of that he even managed to put a lot of that on the page, and that makes it more real. We all do put something of ourselves and our life story and people we see in, and Poe's in so many ways the king of that. And
yeah,
even down to like the weird mysterious death, it's like he wrote his own story. It's sad at the same time, but it's still amazing, and I think that's the what resonates in his work.
absolutely, yeah. Um, and just how you were describing Edgar Allan Poe was a misunderstood artist. So, in what ways have you felt like you've been a misunderstood artist and poured that into your writing?
Oh, every single time somebody reads one of my stories, mostly or the book, they look sideways and what the hell's wrong with this guy? And then which I instead of actually going, oh, maybe I should change that. That's a good idea. I double down and probably make it worse. But I've always kind of mixed genres. I love horror comedies. I love straight horror, believe me, but somehow horror comedies hit me. And there's flat out horror comedies, but there's some that are just the shock relief, which is kind of like life, the gallows humor, and people, soldiers, firemen, doctors, nurses, people that are in super high stress situations, film people, film crew, you have to use gallows humor. But I've always weaved that into anything. And I think sometimes at the darkest moments, you have to give a little bit of relief because you just have to pull back for yourself. I did that. There's one particular section in the novel that I did that, and I didn't really realize I hadn't had it planned. But as I'm writing it, to me, I don't want to give it away, but it's the main character in an event with his father, and to me, it's the darkest section of the book. Even though it's fun and funny, and there's action and sly comedy and basketball and all these things, there's also really dark things happening. And I wrote a section that happens. Again, don't want to give anything away, but I wrote a paragraph that after it was done, I had to read it back and go, "Oh, did I write that?" And I kind of realized that I was not really wimping out, but the scene was so intense that I wanted to pull back and kind of watch in like a baby Greek chorus kind of way of just give the reader, give myself a little bit of relief, and also put writer in dialogue and be able to examine the event that just happened in kind of a literary way. And I'm really proud of that section. I hope everybody else likes it when they read it. But even if they don't, I don't care. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written, but it also makes the darkest section of the book, believe me, really dark. And then suddenly this weird thing is happening. And again, I still get that, and people go, what's this? So again, that's probably the biggest one that I mix genres and throw things in. I've heard that many times. And why are people laughing here? Like, well, because that's what they would do. I've seen people laughing in that situation or making light of that. And my family has a really weird, dark sense of humor. My dad had it, and my aunts and uncles and everyone. There was just always this weird sense of humor. None of them were comedians by any chance, but we always just kind of in a very blue collar dirt farmer kind of way, we always just kind of looked at things with a sense of humor. And then, again, it's almost like, not to the extreme, but I'm forgetting the character's name, but in, what's the Michael Crichton movie? Now I'm forgetting everything. The Viking on the front of the ship. Here goes my internet cred.
Well, I don't
you
know
know,
either.
you know what I'm talking about. The Viking on the top of the ship, and they're going into a hurricane, and he's setting out on the front, just laughing because
Yeah.
he's like, well, why not? We're either going to die or we aren't. Enjoy the storm. And it's hard to do that sometimes. But when you get into personal situations, I do that. Sometimes my sense of humor starts coming out, and I just recently had some really big health issues, and doctors are looking at me like, why are you laughing about this? It's serious. Like, well, I'm taking it seriously, but what am I supposed to do? Curl up in a ball and cry? Like,
Mm,
I want to go out laughing.
right.
So, and enjoying it. And so I try to put that in the writing. And again, that's what gets me, people look at me a little crooked. Hopefully it'll eventually lead to massive success, like some of the greatest horror comedies of all time or drama comedies. And, or they'll just throw me in a grave like Poe, and nobody will remember and say that guy was weird.
Well, I'm a personal advocate of always remembering those who bring art into the world. So you're always going to be remembered on here.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
well, great, great. Yeah. The purpose of any of this is to entertain. Any book,
Hmm.
any piece of art, okay, maybe the Mona Lisa is supposed to inspire you or something, but music, art, sculpture, books, comics, anything, you got to entertain your audience. They paid you money for it. Hopefully, they paid you a lot of money for it, and at least make them happy. Hopefully, expand their mind, teach them something, educate them. But if just make them happy, go and entertain them for a short period of time and relieve themselves, even if it's a terrible horror movie, it takes them away from the horrors of their own life or
Yeah.
gives them fantasies like Dexter of butchering people they don't like. So, but
Yeah, I can name a few people. I won't name a few people
yeah,
that give me that vibe, but yeah. Okay, we are running out of time, so I don't want to cut this short, but I have to. Thank you so much, Eric, for joining us here on the Poe Show. And can you just remind everyone one more time where they can find everything that you do?
you can. EricMillerWrites.com with a C, on Amazon, Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. And my anthologies are all of these are on the bigtimebooks.com website also, but look for 18 Wheels of Horror, 18 Wheels of Science Fiction, Hell Comes to Hollywood, or the new novel is Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed, Amazon and everywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, listeners, give him a look-see. He's got some really good stuff. Eric was so wonderful to interview. I really loved our conversation, and I am sorry it had to get cut short due to time. But he was so kind and sent me a copy of Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed. And I'm reading it right now, but it's going to go on my bookshelf after I'm done reading it. But I'd like to read the back of the book to show you more of what this book is about. When his mysterious Uncle Edward disappears, former high school basketball star Max Brown inherits a fortune in cash, a creepy mansion, and a family curse. He discovers a mind-bending arena under the house where he and his feuding allies battle shape-shifting demons to rescue people trapped in the cavern of horrors. But there are more than just lives at stake. The losers forfeit their very souls. This book is about a whole lot more than you probably expected, and it's an amazing read. You can order your copy of Whatever Happened to Uncle Ed on Amazon for paperback or Kindle right now. Like I said, link in the description. Also, I've got a new horror movie review on the Poe Show YouTube channel. Yeah, it only took me a year to pump another one out. No, in reality, I've just been carving my schedule out so I could make another one. This newest review is of The Cask of Amontillado, and I don't want to spoil anything, so you'll have to go watch it for yourself. The link to it is in this episode description. And remember to look forward to the Halloween special, The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Poe Show, and remember to subscribe if you want to hear more. And if you liked this episode, share it with a friend who enjoys horror podcasts. That's all for now, but you'll hear from me in the next episode on The Poe Show.